teacher, because I have this microphone, he taught me how to do all the settings so that way he can hear when I play and sing.
Right.
But when I try to figure that out on my own,
There's one thing you're missing.
I know. So I'm hoping today I figured out that thing, but then I have to remember what the thing was.
I'm famous for that. I figure out something in the payroll system, and the next time I have to do it, I think, why didn't you write that down?
Right?
I thought I'd remember.
Exactly. You're like, there it is, and then how the heck did I do that?
Yeah.
If anybody wants tea, I boiled some water in the library, so that is fresh. I'm just gonna wait for Joanne because she just sent me a text saying she's on her way. So
Okay, I think I will get a tea that
Yeah,
I have
go
enough
for it.
time. See.
Oh yeah. You have time. We're not strict here. Nothing that I do is very strict. How was Wednesday night
It was nice.
with Barbara?
Yeah, it was very
I figured that you guys
interesting.
would.
Only a couple people opted to try and teach off their mat, but it
Yeah,
was
that's what she was
interesting.
saying.
No, it was really nice. It's always good to hear someone else's perspective and where they came from. And
Totally. Yep.
So, and especially since I've taken a lot of her classes recently.
Yeah.
Because she's been doing other nights. I don't usually go Saturday mornings. It's just too busy for me.
Yep.
I don't like the 30-person classes
Yeah.
very much. But I understand why there's that many people.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah, I know. It is. It's a good way to have longevity and teach. So Kathy's in the 200-hour yoga teacher training. Yep. And so about once a month I have other teachers come in and kind of talk about their experience teaching. So this past Wednesday, Barbara came in and shared. And Barbara is an off-the-mat teacher, which...
Yes. I didn't know what that meant, but
Yeah.
now I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she walks around the
Yeah.
class, and I've always
Yeah.
thought, wow. Although I can see it because we've had to teach a couple of times, just the sun salutations, and I can see when I'm in down dog, it's not very easy for me to give directions because I'm upside down and trying to breathe. So I can see both sides of it.
Yeah.
Definitely. I could see where it would be definitely useful in some situations.
Yeah, I'm usually a little bit of both, but I'll walk around a little. I usually sit and teach so I can look at everyone. Then I might demo if I see people are having, but that took a long time to do. Like when my teacher never demonstrated the class of who I learned from.
Oh, okay.
She was always just a verbal cue person, which I loved because she said, when you teach that way, you're really thinking about, you're not really thinking after so long, but you have to think about how to get people to move their bodies a certain way without showing them, so as a teacher, it's good to have in your toolbox because then you have to think of different things that you wouldn't have to think about if you're demonstrating a class. But doing both at first obviously is helpful because when you're a new teacher, sometimes you have to be demonstrating the posture so you remember what am I doing and how can I explain this to the students. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things she recommended was either doing your own practice in a mirror or videoing yourself doing your practice as a way to see, if you've got an hour-long class.
Totally.
When you're working on it.
And just to hear yourself.
And to hear yourself. I don't like hearing myself.
I know.
I hate that. the classes are recorded, so if we do any demos, then I have to listen to myself on Zoom. But I know it's a good tool.
Yeah.
I've just never liked to listen.
Did you
I
go
don't
through
think
the
anyone
yoga
does.
training?
I'm doing it right now.
I know.
When I get out.
Oh, good for
So
you.
we're
So I know you've
maybe
done
3.5,
some
4
assists
months in.
before in
We
your
started
classes,
June.
but typically teachers here don't do it. Do you ever teach that in your teacher training? How to do assists?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. But you have to have a certain confidence, and it really got kind of destroyed during COVID. Touching people, and there used to be more of it before that. So
Adjustments,
yeah.
Because I know some teacher
hands-on.
trainings don't really touch on assists much, and I don't know if you remember, I told you I did my training 7 years ago at Sutra and Lowell, and we had a whole weekend because it was the 1 weekend a month training, and there was one weekend and that's all we did the whole weekend, all 3 days was just hands-on assist things. And we did the class that happened like that Saturday night or whatever, and we all had a partner from our class.
Yep.
And for the first 30 minutes, we had to assist them in every single pose that got called out. Wow. And then after a half hour, we switched, and then they assisted us. And it was intense.
Yeah.
It was so like odd, like having like, there was like a chair pose assist, I think it was, and it was like, all right, like tell your partner to literally sit on your lap, right. And you're like in chair pose, and then they're doing it on you.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
See, that would never happen because you have to know the people to get into it like that. But even just like, touching someone's shoulder, like gentle touch reminds the body where to go. Yeah. And it builds confidence in the students. So I do need to encourage it more with the teachers and get out of their comfort zone.
3 days in a row, hands on it.
Yeah, maybe I'll have a little workshop with the teachers to say, even in like Shavasana, even if you start there, just touching, like if you're a Reiki person, even if you're not a Reiki person, just touching everyone's feet. Because making that connection is so nice.
Yeah.
To have the touch, any kind of touch. It's like we don't even know we're craving it until someone touches us and we're like, oh,
can
you just stay there?
Like you feel like a gentle touch on your shoulders, and you're like, whoa, I didn't know I was hunching my shoulders up, but you feel like they went down like 4 inches.
It's amazing.
It's so true.
That's one of the really nice assists I've always found, is somebody just going around and
pressing your shoulders.
Where you're in Tadasana, and just they don't even really press it, they just touch it.
Just touch.
You realize that you're like this.
That's all it takes.
In down dog,
reminder.
smoothing down your back or something, just knowing that you're in the right alignment. Especially for new students, it's hard to get into the right position with down dog, to get your hips to the right place, and to understand how you're.
Yeah, because I never received any instruction. I just kind of figured it out based on classes.
Yeah.
And I have no idea whether I'm doing everything right. I'm sure I'm not.
All right, well, I'm going to have a workshop of breakdown of posture. I always think that's good. It would be good to have
There is one. I just saw it.
Well, there's Kate she's doing a series, a 5-week series.
Okay,
Potentially a little more intensive versus foundational. But she's in the 300-hour training. You should be able to, and you can do drop-ins with that series too. You don't have to sign up for all 5 because it started last week anyway. But you can drop in. It's Fridays at 4:30, and you can ask her questions, and you can tell her that I said that.
I am doing this series.
Good.
We did 2 poses. I know we did one was mountain pose. I can't remember the second one, but she was very good. And then she taught Andrea's class afterwards, and same thing. She's a little bit like you with a lot of instructions when she's getting you into a pose, and people did ask a lot of questions at the end. There was, people were like, well, at the end of Andrea's class, well, what about crow pose? And she was showing. Because people say, but I always tip over when I do that.
You have to look forward.
And that was it. Where to look, because that's always important. I've found is where your gaze is.
Oh yeah.
When you're doing certain things.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, that's why people end up doing the yoga teacher training. Oftentimes it's because they want to learn more about the postures, not even to teach per se, but just to, because it's hard to say, you can't say every single thing when you're teaching, and then it's like showing up repetitively, you learn a little bit more, workshops here and there, but yeah.
I have to say, a lot of my classes have been with Erica and Jamie, and they're both excellent with that.
Good.
Where to look and every move, and
Awesome.
That's been good.
I know, I need more Erica classes in my life, but it's hard because I work.
And she's every other week.
And she's every other, I have to figure out which week she is because I've got time.
I think this week was Jamie, right?
Yes.
So next week is
Next
Erica,
week?
Monday, Wednesday.
And Aaliyah will probably, who's also superb.
She's great, I know.
Superb.
I am so lucky right now.
You have a good team. You really do.
I know. I'm like, can we all stay forever? But then I have to let that go. So you wore your deity sweater.
I did.
I love it.
I did, yeah.
My goodness. I'm going to try. Are you guys good with me telling you a story this morning?
Yes,
Because it's
fun.
just and you're gonna just love it, Joanne.
Okay.
Whew, I'm gonna try to piece it together. I might cry. It was all, something that came like pretty full circle just this morning. Of course, on my exercise bike again, all this stuff. That's like my most enlightening moments of the day, apparently. When I'm on that. My lower body's doing something else, and my upper body is, whatever, doing so. It's interesting. But, so let's see, where to begin? I started taking some notes on it this morning, and then Juliet woke up. I guess I'll begin with saying, so Joanne and I do Keraton together, right? And I'm just going to say all this stuff that I'm about to say is super weird. So just so you know, I think it's weird. But it's my life, okay? And also, we'll meditate at the end of this, and I would love for you to use it as a reflection point of your own life, right? Like, so even though I'm talking about me, like, definitely try to overlay it onto your own life and the things that happen as a way of just knowing how powerful, especially as women, like our intuition really is, and how guided our lives really are, especially, well, only when we're not trying, right? It's all the stuff that we think we can control our lives, but then things happen and we realize, wow, we really have no control over our lives and the things that happen or emerge. Okay, so there's a little preface. I'm going to go way back to when I graduated from yoga teacher training in 2008. My teacher gave everyone names, yoga names, right? And I do that in my trainings now too. But the name she gave me was Bhavani. And she gave us a little note card, and I meant to bring the card today because I still have it to this day. And it said, compassion and oversee the living. And I was like, whoa, like I didn't really know. That seemed big. Yeah. I'm like, what do you do with this? That's beautiful. And she was the sweetest woman, Vima Loren Fields, and she would always call me Bhavani when she would email me, call me, and hi, my sweet Bhavani, and so I loved it coming from her, but I could never. Some people totally switch their names, like in life, to their yoga name. But I never did that. I sign the yoga certificates when people graduate with that in there, Jennifer Bhavani, but I don't use it. And so Joanne and I have been trying to come up with a name for our Keraton band. And we've been going back and forth for a little while, but we got kind of serious about it yesterday. And Joanne mentioned using our yoga names as the name. And you're Amala, right? Amala. And I'm Bhavani. And so together that means pure giver of life, right? Which is cool for Keraton because I feel like the mantras really embody that kind of sharing of love. It's like love is life. But then there was this whole thing in my head, right, about like it's the path of Keraton. I feel very, very, very drawn to, and it's also totally weird. I've never played an instrument my whole life. I've loved instruments. I mean, I've done sound healings, but those are different kind of instruments. This one's like a more technical instrument. And so even the people in my life that have been in my life for many, many years are kind of like, what, like it's weird, like I talk about it and they're like, yeah, it's cool. Like, and so the other day I reached out to a retreat center that Joanne has done a couple of retreats there. I've done one retreat there. I taught yoga at a retreat there. It's a beautiful piece of property, this couple, the Scrimshaws, up in Sandwich, New Hampshire. So the mountains, a labyrinth, a yurt, beautiful. Reached out to them and was like, me and my friend Joanne have been doing Keraton, would you ever be open to us having Keraton there? Because we've been talking about, doing Keraton outside of Joy. And she wrote back like right away, I would love that. There's Dan, our drummer. he did a drumming circle there recently, and she said, you know, Dan Sicaro, or what Sicardo, yeah, he was here for a drumming circle, and he mentioned that he'd been drumming with you guys, and so she kind of already knew who we were, and then I think she also remembered from the retreats, and so she was totally into it. And then I started, if my mind starts going, I was like, what if we turn that into a whole retreat weekend, you know, like not just a kirtan on Saturday night. So her and I have been discussing that, and it's going to happen, and it kind of coincides with Joy's 10-year anniversary in August. This will be in September. And so I'm like, I think this is going to be called the Festival of Joy.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was all happening, and at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, the ego part is like questioning, who do you think you are? This kind of thing. So I was in a funk last night. I went to bed early, ignored everyone in my house, and I'm laying there, and I was actually texting with my friend Cammie. She lives in New Mexico, and she lives like a nomadic lifestyle. She totally, you know, just follows her intuition, but also the same struggles of like, who the hell am I? But also doing it, right? So we were going back and forth about life, and I felt a little bit better after that conversation, went to bed. So now I'm gonna rewind again, right? So there's that. I'm gonna leave us there. Rewind to when I went to India. I mean, it started in Hawaii, right? Went to a Ram Dass retreat. Was a Ram Dass person, like he was my teacher. I learned so much from Ram Dass, and his guru was Maharaji, right? And some of you have heard me tell this story before. Weird, right? He has a guru. Like, that was never a thing. I was like, Ram Dass teacher, cool. He has a guru. That's his guru. That's perfect. Whatever works for you. Was never really into that, or never really thought about it as being a thing. Then in Hawaii, there were some experiences of just like, they always had this huge picture of Maharaji on the stage, right? Same picture. And I swore that over the course of those 5 days, right? His face was changing. Like, sometimes he'd be serious, sometimes there was a smile, and you've experienced that before. So apparently it's a very common experience, but I didn't talk about it because I was like, this is weird. Also, I do have a mom who is a paranoid schizophrenic, so that comes from her trauma, but I'm still, being the daughter of someone like that, I check in. I'm like, am I in reality? You know? And I am, you know, the fact that I even think that. But anyway, so I ended up in India a year later, after Hawaii, after having that experience, right? It was following in the footsteps of Ram Dass, right? That was a Himalayan yatra led by one of his friends, Saraswati Marcus. So she's super familiar with India. She leads a beautiful, beautiful yatra or retreat. And when we all got together, like with people from all around the world, everyone had very similar experiences of Maharaji. So then I was able to share my experience, and it wasn't so weird because everybody had a similar experience. And apparently that's like the call of the guru, right? So during that time, I was able to say, all right, I think like Maharaji is my guru because of other experiences and just feeling comfortable with accepting what that is. And it's really just, we all have a guru. It's something, it's us, right? It's our inner teacher. That's really what that is. It's really what it is. And sometimes there's an external person like Maharaji or like any saint or sage or some of the deities that we know that reflect that externally, right? Someone that you look at and they reflect pure love back to you, right? And then, but it just lives within us, right? That's our heart. That's the pure essence of who we are. So it doesn't have to be this external thing. This is just the way it's shaping up for this weirdness, right? And so there's that. So in India at one point, there's a temple. We went to different Maharaji temples. And one of them was one that he spent a lot of time at, where a lot of Americans would come back in the 60s and they would sing kirtan to him. And he would sit in his room and he would listen. He loved when people sang to him. So when we went to his temple, the day we went, that door was open to his room. So Maharaji is not in his body anymore. I think it was 1980 or 70s that he dropped. It's been a long time, right? But the essence still remains, right? Just like anybody that passes away, like you can connect with the essence of that person because everything is infinite. So anyway, his room was open, so we were able to go in there, and that was like a rare thing. Maharaji was famous for jowing people, which means he kicked people out. Like, you know, that's, if you ever hear Ram Dass or anybody, Krishna Das, they always say he would jow, get out. And he said it's because, like, both ways we get attached to each other, you know, and he knew his purpose in this life was to be this presence of, he just was this presence of unconditional love. And I think he was trying to not get attached to these human bodies. He loved everyone unconditionally, but he would send people away because we're humans, and when we find someone that loves us, we get attached to them, right? So especially like the Americans that would go there, because this was so new for them to have this experience, so they always wanted to be with him. And he would literally hide and send people away. So he jowed people all the time, and also would just like disappear in the middle of the night, and then they would be like on this search for Maharaji. So anyway, I went into his room at the temple and I sat down, and I'm not someone that has experiences like visualizations or like what visions, none of that stuff. That's not me. When I meditate, it's very much just like I'm just doing that, right? There's no colors, there's not much of anything. And I sat down in there, I was like, ooh, I'm going to stay here for as long as I can, because this never gets to happen, right? The door is hardly ever open at this temple, so I get comfortable. And as soon as I settle in and start to meditate, his voice comes into my head, and he's like, go to Siddhi Ma's temple. Siddhi Ma was like his companion, almost like the female incarnation of him. And I'm like, I don't even know her. You know, like I've never had a connection with her. I don't know anything about her except for her name, and that they were connected. It was always like Ram Dass Maharaji. So I'm like, I'm just going to ignore that. So I keep sitting there trying to ignore it, and he's like kicking me out, right? Like I couldn't sit there because it was just so strong. And I'm like, yeah, go to Siddhi Ma's temple. Go to Siddhi Ma's temple. Yeah, gentle, but like you're not sitting in here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fine, I'll go. And that was just down the hallway at this ashram, right? So I said it was a temple, but it's an ashram, so it's a big structure, and then inside of it are temples, basically, which are smaller rooms or structures. Okay. So I went down the hall, the corridor, and went to Siddhi Ma's temple. Again, no clue about any of this. So sat in there, like really tucked myself away because I felt super weird. Didn't know the procession of what you're supposed to do in a place like that. So I sit up against the wall, and I'm like, all right, I'm in here. I'm going to close my eyes. And then again, then it was her voice. And like over and over again, just saying, be the mother, be the mother. Like, and so I was like, maybe I need to be a better mother. Like, I don't know. Again, don't know. But I'm like bawling my eyes. That was a very profound experience, crying. And I'm hearing her, and I sat there for as long as I needed to until probably I stopped crying and I left. And, you know, the trip continued in India. I went home, came home, and have sat with that, like, what does being the mother mean? Maybe I need to, you know, be more compassionate. All these things that are helpful to be more loving, be more compassionate. And so that's what I have been practicing more, that embodiment. But also weird, right? I'm like, okay, you know, like letting go, trusting, feeling like, is this really, you know, is it real? Is this really happening? You know, like, but I know it happens to a lot of people, so I always bring myself back to that. So there's that little bit, and I'll leave that there with Siddhi Ma, Maharaji. Fast forward to the retreat that we just had a couple weeks ago. And it always comes back around to Siddhi Ma. Maharaji still, like, look at, I have this picture of Maharaji on one side, other Siddhi Ma and Hanuman. So even the other night during the Reiki Master Attunement, I was like, I'm going to switch it to Maharaji. And he's like, no. Because he's still, like, doesn't want the attention. He'd rather give it to, like, Siddhi Ma. Because with the divine feminine is so powerful, right? That's what I'm coming to learn. This is what I want you to know right now. The divine feminine energy, what we bring as women, what lives inside us naturally, is very powerful. So we're at the retreat, and there's a woman there who was reading the book about Siddhi Ma. And she said, did you ever realize what the end of this book says? What Siddhi Ma said the moment of her death, right? And it was, I'm gonna find exactly what it was. I know I took a picture of it this morning. Yeah, she said, Jaya Jagatambe, right? So, or Jagatambe, there was a couple words after it that means, like, I am the divine mother of the universe, right? So I'm like, wow, I never knew. I mean, I knew it was Maharaji's count. And again, they're also symbolic of what we have within ourselves. Even the divine masculine, we have both, right? We have this balance within ourselves, right? So the recognition of being able to bring that divine feminine energy to the retreat became very important, right, for us to tap into that energy, and we definitely did.
We definitely did. For sure.
And yeah, so then I was like thinking, all right, I'm pretty sure I've seen those words before, and I have my little booklet from Hawaii in here. Of course, I can't find anything when I'm trying. Here it is, yeah. And it's Maharaji. So his final words was Jaya Jagadisha, right? Which means he's the divine, basically masculine of the universe, right? So I'm like, that's so, I don't know, for some reason that like totally came together in this powerful way. So there was that thing that just brought these awarenesses of the essence of who we are, right, as humans. And I talked about it on Monday, maybe it was Wednesday actually, our capabilities, with just having our awareness. When we tap into our awareness, we begin to recognize our capabilities, which is really the essence of love, right? And love is huge. Love does so many things, powerful things, healing things. It just heals on every single level, and we've heard that for so long. Love heals all, but we just kind of like brush it off as like a cheesy saying. But it's so true, right? And these experiences for me have been very powerful to come back to what that is. So I'll leave that there, and then come back to the present. The beginning of this week, a kirtan artist named David Newman was just 5 weeks ago diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor. And he's maybe in his 50s, maybe late 40s, 50s, okay?
50s.
Yeah. I wasn't super familiar, or so I thought, with his music, right? I know it's played when I've taught yoga, but I felt so drawn to follow the story this week, and it was like just breaking. He has a wife, he has a teenage daughter, breaking my heart this whole week, because this was the week that he was passing. So 5 weeks of this diagnosis, and he passed away yesterday morning. Okay, so super fast. And that was like weighing heavy on my heart last night for some reason. Again, I don't have a connection, but I've learned through feeling drawn to this week and of his passing that he was a Maharaji person, and that he was devoted to love, and his kirtan is singing, like that's what he brought to the world. And he began as a law student long ago, and he said, I don't want to do this. I want to open up a yoga studio, and then he got into kirtan, and I don't know, I just kept being drawn back to him this week. even though I had no connection, but I was reading the, the comments from other kirtan and music artists that I have followed for years, and their message to him, and just what a gift he was to the world. And so then that part of me again, that self-doubt, right? I'm like, this beautiful man, right, has been doing this for so long, and these people respect and honor him, and he, they know Maharaji's going to open the door for him, and I'm like, coming back to that, who the hell am I? Like, this is not, like, I don't, I think I'm a little crazy. Okay? So this morning, I woke up, and I went down to ride the bike, and I must have not closed out whatever Instagram or something from last night, so when I went to go put music on, that was open. It was his picture. So I was reminded of him, and I read about his passing, and I was like, I want to listen to one of his songs to honor him. And so I put on, I didn't really even know that he was the artist of the song, but one that I had been playing when I was teaching yoga recently, Love Belongs to Everyone. So I'm listening to that song, and I'm just like crying, feeling, I don't know, everything, I guess. Crying for him and his family, and for his journey, and, his expansion of love, and however he's received by Maharaji, or whatever happens when you die, I don't know. But I'm just crying and crying and crying. And so that song ended, and I'm like, I want to listen to another one of his songs. And so I open up the thing that shows you the list of songs, and I'm scrolling. And never have I ever seen a song with the name Bhavani in it until today. And it just happens to be that the song is called Amba Bhavani, but so close to Amala
right.
Bhavani.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that was it. Wow. I really lost it then to a song with, the name Bhavani and full circle.
Right.
Us figuring out our name yesterday, I feel like this solidified it. And
right.
That's the way of Maharaji. Like,
That's
I don't
awesome.
even know David Newman, but he's a Maharaji person, and
Wow.
and then what it means. So that song Amba Bhavani, they say Jaya Jagatambe, what is it? Amba Bhavani. So Jaya Jagatambe again, right? Like that. Those were the last words of Siddhima.
Right.
That's the song. It came back to me when I graduated from yoga teacher training. We sang Krishna Das's version of that, and everyone had to input their yoga name and sing it out loud.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so that was a super, obviously powerful moment. Amba is a Sanskrit word meaning mother, and then Bhavani is the goddess that represents Durga, and then it's so close to
Amala.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love that.
And David Newman, I'm like, he was the teacher. I talked about that at the retreat, how teachers drop in. We don't even know, because it always happens when we're not trying, right? I'm sitting there trying to control me, thinking I'm not worthy of this path, right, of kirtan or any of this. Sometimes I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean? But I'm just sharing, like, that's it. It's all love. And yeah, the Festival of Joy lives on. It's gonna happen. And it's okay.
And you do it beautifully.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so grateful to have you, yes. So anyway, that's my story. I don't know how it worked out. I was like, I'm gonna tell the story. But do you see the connections?
Yeah.
Right?
Everything.
Yes. All the not trying times, right? All the times where I'm trying to control something else. And in our lives, there's always these other interworkings, which I'm sure, if you look back at your life, right? How many things can you string together? there's this tapestry in the background of our lives that's always being woven, and we don't even have to try, you know. And then when we gather here like this, I just think like this, it's so powerful that you guys even want to show up. Like, it's so awesome, you know, to be able to talk about that divine feminine. So today is obviously more of a yoga talk versus a Buddhist talk. It's all the same, right? Buddhists talk about emptiness, which is essentially love. Yogis, bhakti yogis, we talk about love. We've seen the greatest teachers on stage talking about it, and they all agree. It's the same thing, right? Because emptiness is unlimited potential. That's what the emptiness is in Buddhism that they talk about. It doesn't mean nothing. It just means it's a space where anything is possible, right? And then the bhakti yogis are always like, it's love.
Is
So,
this him?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. His music is beautiful, so definitely give it a listen. David Newman. Yeah, honoring his journey onward.
I'm not going to share this experience because it'll bog us down, but I just had something that was so similar in terms of synchronicity type things.
It won't bog us down.
Well, yeah, no, that's okay, really. But yeah, I don't want to take the time for that. But yeah, I just can relate to that story a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, not so yogic,
Yeah.
but just how synchronized things happen. And this one had to do with a friend who lost a very good friend, some of you know. And after I met with this person, I went home and found on my Safari open pages, I was looking for a recipe, and what do I see but the obituary of this person who I did not know, but was the friend of that person. I had opened it up, just had seen a Salem death, and usually I'll close those right away when I say, no, not somebody I know.
Yeah.
But it had been there for like that week, and I just
Oh, wow.
it was like, that's the person. So it was just very
Wow.
kind of strange.
Yeah. Right? You're like, this is weird, but
This
also
is kind of
it's-
weird, yeah.
Yeah. And it is yogic, you know. Mine just happens to be like whatever. I follow yoga, you know, but all of that is yogic. Yogic is union with everything, you know. So we all, when we're on this path, when we show up here, we're all practicing yoga.
I really hate it when somebody dies young and they're a yogic person. It always just seems so not right. So I have a hard time with that story about David Newman, just thinking he did everything
I know.
to keep
Right?
life beautiful. And so that's always a struggle.
It is a struggle. And I feel that when that happens, he reached whatever enlightenment he was meant to reach so early. But also, yeah, the human struggle, the heart breaking for his wife and his children and all the lives that he impacted. And that's the holding both things, right? The joy and the grief. And that's what was happening this morning, and that's that feeling. It's like it hurts.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
I have it's something that I didn't remember when it happened, but my father died when I was 18, so he left 5 children. And one of the things that my aunt said to me then, who I was very close to, was that he had reached the end. He had completed what he needed to do, because everybody that knew him liked him. He was respected. He just lived that kind of life. And it didn't resonate with me at all then. You know, you're 18, you lost your father. Just
right.
The whole world's upended. But probably in the past 15 years or so, as I started to practice and learn more about yoga, it started to come back to me. And it is a comfort now. You know, I can see where she was coming from.
Yeah.
And she was definitely one of my best teachers in terms of life. She just had that wisdom and the ability to connect with me that my mother didn't.
Wow.
Which is, but I do still think of
And that was your grandmother, you said?
it was my aunt.
It was your
maternal
aunt. All
that
right.
said it to
Wow.
me. Yeah. And she was sort of a 60s, you know, she went to college in Canada and met her husband, and grew up in Lawrence but ended up in New York City, and they did all sorts of stuff that was totally out of the realm of my mother's life as a housewife with 5 kids, and
Right.
so I always found her, and we just had a really good connection.
Oh.
But that was one of the things that I kept with me in recent years.
Yeah. Yeah. And having that connection, you probably have a stronger connection with your dad.
Yes.
Like through remembering those words.
I do. It makes me think more about not just him as a dad, but as a person.
Yes.
And what, I didn't know a lot of him as a person, as an 18-year-old, but certainly his reflection back from the people that knew him, and what people thought of him, and the stories that you hear over the years makes it more resonating.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Yeah. Anybody else want to share anything before we meditate?
I think it's comforting, that thought of that you see things through that person's eyes, somewhat. That's how a person kind of sees here.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes it's hard to keep them here. You need different ways to remember, have them still be. I mean, I remember, when I reached a certain age, this is how long Dad lived, and now I look at a granddaughter who, my kids never knew him, my granddaughter won't know him, but what I have of him I can give to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funny how the things you don't appreciate too when you're younger can
Exactly.
come back.
You wouldn't even know to appreciate it,
Right.
until
True.
you start to live.
Truly.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Thich Nhat Hanh talks about that a lot when people leave their body, that we as family members, like we are a continuation of them. And there is comfort. Well, to me there's comfort in that, that we are a continuation of them. That's how they live on, and like you said, they're looking through your eyes, or vice versa. You're looking through their eyes. Whose eyes are they?
Yeah. There you go.
So get yourself comfortable. I know I've probably left you with a lot of feelings, which is perfect for meditation, right? It is that awareness, so continuing the practice from the other day. An option today, Wednesday we practice with our eyes open, so I welcome you to do that, but also if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, close your eyes. Maybe a combination of both, I find works for me often. So yeah, find your posture, which is really just a nice long spine, natural curves of the spine, so we don't want to force anything. And then you let the shoulders drop down, maybe back a little bit so you feel that opening in the heart. And the chin tilts down just a bit, so you make it however many adjustments you need to make so you can get into that comfortable place in the body where your muscles can relax around the spine, where it makes it easy for you to connect with your breath. You're dropping into your body, which allows you to connect with awareness. Like I said, you might be sitting here and feeling different things based on our chat. so I invite you to be with all of that, right? Maybe name it. Name each individual sensation of emotion, signals from the body, the different sensations that we feel physically. And at the same time, the thoughts that rise and fall. Caring for ourselves gently. If there is an emotion that feels the strongest, breathe there. And we're not breathing to get it to go away. We're breathing into it and allowing it to be. It will shift and change and transform on its own accord. And you're just giving it awareness, gentle, caring awareness. And you stay with it for as long as you do. And when the next sensation arises, you do the same thing. Gentle, caring awareness. Breathing. A softness when the thoughts come and go, and curiosity and lightheartedness when we get carried away with a thought. And our breath eventually calls us back. Move through all the different variations of awareness. present moment. I know that it is a wonderful moment. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, dwelling in the present moment. And breathing out, I know it is a wonderful moment. In, out, calm, smile, present moment, wonderful moment. In, out, calm, smile, present moment, wonderful moment. Just taking your time before fully opening your eyes and coming back. Well, thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
I'll see some of you at 10:30. And hope to see you next week as well.
Can I ask what everybody's names are?
Yes, that's good.
My name's Nina.
Nina,
Margaret.
Margaret,
Kathy.
Kathy,
Jane.
Jane. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to
Joanne.
meet you.
We just have to have a thing at the door, I think, for name
Hi.
I have a bunch, I think, left over from the retreat.
Yeah.
All
Nice
right.
to meet you all.
Very nice.